So you guys, we're going to go ahead and get going again. And while people are coming back from the break, I'll go ahead and start introducing Dr. Cantrell. Dr. Cantrell also, until several years ago, had never heard of sunflower syndrome, and some of our families found him. And Dr. Cantrell is an optometrist working in the St. Louis area. And over the past several years, he has gotten to know and treat many individuals living with sunflower syndrome with colored contacts. Dr. Cantrell joined us last year also remotely, and anyone who was here, it was kind of hilarious because we couldn't hear him, so I was on the phone saying what he was saying while we were showing his slides. So we were a little smarter this time, and Kennedy helped Dr. Cantrell videotape his talk, which we will show now, and Dr. Cantrell is joining us via Zoom for questions and answers after his talk. So with that, I'd like to turn it over, and Steve, thank you very much for doing this, and Wing will set it going.
Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be with you today and see so many familiar faces, even though we're on Zoom and we're not fully connected right now. Such a pleasure to be here. We're going to try to condense our presentation into the hot topics that are happening right now. So many wonderful new advancements. I'm coming from an eye care perspective. I am an optometrist. And I've shared my journey with so many before. My first son, Ryan, was born with trisomy 18. And he was painfully light sensitive, which triggered seizures and then apnea. And I had no idea what that was. So after some time on the medical advisory board for this group, things began to fall into place. And we're making advances from that observation over a long time. I want to introduce you on the slide. The left is Peter. He is wearing the therapeutic sunflower contact lens. Anna on the right, and they're fairly representative of the age group, but we're finding that we're beginning to treat many adults that are older that have been struggling, which is a little bit telling that some people, I think, resolve, and sometimes it doesn't. But we're able to begin this therapy in different arenas now with help. So we'll move on here. So if you have a pencil handy and some paper, grab it. There will be an enormous amount of information to share. And at the end will be my email and contact information that you're welcome to use at any time. And of course, we want to thank, let me go back, we want to thank Dr. Teal and her staff for pioneering and pressing on with Dr. Teal with your unique lens and the wonderful staff you have around you. It's just terrific. So the first thing, the summary of our presentation is we'll be getting to the contact lens information at the end. Nutrition has been vital, as it turns out. So much new information and promising studies that validate the importance of this nutritional intervention. We'll discuss daily intake and vegetables. There are lists of vegetables rich in these nutrients that can be turned into a smoothie as an alternative. And parents, you can drink this as well. It's very powerful. These nutrients are vital for all of us. But I think primarily we're looking at sunflower as a target audience to improve and prevent toxic aggressive light from triggering a seizure. And then we'll discuss the macular pigment optical density and its importance and what that means shortly. So the lutein and zeaxanthin are in the carotenoid family, and those are the colorful fruits and veggies. The more colorful the vegetables are, the more powerful they are and rich in antioxidants. Lutein and zeaxanthin are orange and yellow and orange yellow. So the color of corn is lutein, and orange bell pepper, sweet potatoes, pumpkins. That's actually zeaxanthin, which is a little harder to find in our foods. but that is overridden, and that's why I'm strongly recommending using a nutritional supplement. So the food groups, as I just mentioned, are important. Goji berries have no taste. They're dried berries in the dried fruit section. And you just sprinkle that onto your foods, include that in a smoothie. They're very nutrient dense without having any flavor to them. Now, the importance of this, here's a cross section of the human eye. You'll notice I'm going to use my cursor, here we go. This section right in this area, that's the macula. The yellow color is the deposited lutein and zeaxanthin. If we're not consuming it daily, it doesn't appear. And in age-related macular degeneration, as an example, that was the first iteration of discovery for the use of these antioxidants, that if it's missing, the eye's blue blocking protection and sort of the sunscreen for the macula is missing. So too much light's getting in, damaging the macula. Now for our kids, the importance of this, it's the eye's natural blue blocking filter, but so much more. And we need to have that. And I've been able to anecdotally convince myself that this is really important. And it needs to be done daily. So this is kind of a graphic of why all light enters the macula. So when we look at something, it goes to that little tiny 2 millimeter spot. And that's also where the rods and the cones are. Rods are nighttime, cones are daytime, light processing and managing color and light coming in. And as many of you have noted, when our kids begin wearing the contact lenses, everything is blue. And that's the filter that's in there. Now, interestingly enough, colors return. So we have a smart brain and we have a smart macula with the cones especially that are able to detect we need to include the remaining colors. So it's been fascinating to see that actually has happened. And recently, now this is about a year ago, I think I might have included it last time, but it has grown to understanding. We didn't know that lutein and zeaxanthin is in the placenta, and there's an important third trimester transmission to the infant. And so Moran Eye Center in Salt Lake City did this extensive study, which was revealing and demonstrated that this is important. And I am speculating that our children are devoid of lutein and zeaxanthin at birth, or diminished a lot. The great news about this is that it can be resupplied through our diet and nutritional supplements. So it's not a permanent disability in the eye. So we're absorbing the circled areas, aren't the exact wavelengths that affects sunflower syndrome and to some extent Javon's and photosensitive epilepsy. Those are the three named photo-triggered epilepsy disorders. And but there's themes and variations, and we're seeing some crossover, and everyone is benefiting from very similar therapies. So this is notch filtering. The notch means we're not allowing all light through, and we're only allowing the light that's not potentially and hopefully that's not triggering a seizure. So that's the kind of a demonstration of what the lens is doing. Now, this chart you can Google on the internet. These are the food groups that are rich in lutein and zeaxanthin. And the kale, collard greens, and spinach are at the top. Spinach is the one that we might most often access. Kale is the rock star right now, and dried and fried and cooked and any iteration you can think of. but it's very nutrient dense, and that's lutein. And when you add the, it also has some zeaxanthin content, but when you add the goji berries, which I don't think are showing on this chart, that really is a powerful mix that benefits eye, brain, and skin. So cognitive thinking is one of the more recent benefits of lutein and zeaxanthin that we weren't aware of. So the recommended daily dose of lutein is 10 to 12 milligrams, zeaxanthin 2 milligrams. The Flora Glow lutein source is marigold flower, and that seems to be more absorbing. Many supplements come that way, and Ocuvite and Preservision are over the counter, but there are many that are a little more important that we can switch over to. And please email me if you have questions about the sources. So what we want to do is take the recommended dose with or before a meal once a day. Needs the fat in our food to get into the blood serum, which transports lutein and zeaxanthin to the cells of the body and especially the eye. It's available in capsules, which can be pulled apart, sprinkled over food, mixed into a drink, tablets, gummies, or there are liquids out there as well. But again, my recommendation is on the Flora Glow, more absorbable, more effective. And I want to thank the parents for sharing the research. I learned from you guys, and we have had so much information shared that I can't begin to tell you. That is a clue, a piece of the puzzle, and the puzzle pieces are beginning to fit a little bit and make more sense. And this just is repeating the information about the study we talked about a moment ago. So the MPOD, macular pigment optical density, is a likely biomarker for sunflower syndrome retinal health. Now, there are offices that can do the MPOD study, and an instrument is necessary to do that. However, just routinely taking the supplement will ensure optimal blood serum levels. So the MPOD score or the MPOD instrument just tells us if we have adequate amount of these antioxidants in our bloodstream. We're doing retinal photography in our office when children come into St. Louis, and the retina is showing some unique topography compared to what I want to say is a standard retinal picture. It's not threatening. I'm not seeing disease or pathology. It's just different, and we're yet to figure out what that is. And we don't have to worry about it because retinal function is still maximum. And when we learn a little more, do some more research on this, we'll share it. But it's another puzzle piece to filtering and impeding toxic light getting into the eye. So as I mentioned, the measurement of the ability and the supply of macular pigment in the eye. So the MPOD score, which I just mentioned a moment ago, is not necessary completely because if we're using a supplement that ensures optimal daily dose, and we know the MPOD scores are going to be way up. So that the MPOD was just an early marker that we could see deficiencies if they were there. And the new studies have revealed the importance of eye and brain connection. So the eye, the optic nerve, goes to the occipital lobe, which is in the back of our brain. That's ground zero. We're not sure along the pathway where we get that little short where we have the absent seizure and the hand wave that goes with that. And I'm sure Dr. Teal has mentioned this many times, discovered that the seizure is first, the hand wave is second. Still today, unfortunately, we need to disseminate nutrition at a much higher level. And many offices are not aware and feel like this is self-stimulation. And a little bit of shaming going on because we feel like the kids are doing it intentionally or unintentionally, but they're doing it. They're not. And Dr. Teal, you may elaborate on this later too, please. But that we want to understand that our kids are triggered by light, and there's an involuntary hand wave that follows. That's important. And we talked about the rods and the cones. And again, the cones are daylight, management of light, color management, very important. But they are also, the rods and the cones are covered by the macular pigment, lutein and zeaxanthin. So it's important that be there every day. That's the eye's internal sunglass, internal filter over the macula and the rods and cones. To me, very important, and just stay on it. And everyone in the family can take this supplement, make it a family event, because it helps adults enormously as well. It's just a very misunderstood, these are very misunderstood antioxidants, so important to all of us for anti-aging, longevity, and for our kids. That extra layer of attention, that important layer of attention, it's not extra. I think it's a necessary layer that needs to be included. And so the lutein and zeaxanthin plus an omega. So some of the supplements have an omega in it. If you have one without, just get an over-the-counter omega from Walgreens or most places that is a good name brand. Include that with food at the same time once a day. We can't overdose on it. And one of the more revealing new studies, and which I've been implementing while we're waiting for our contacts and different things, is we can double dose once or twice a week at the same time with lutein and zeaxanthin. So we cannot overdose on it. Our goal is, once everything is calm and we're seeing performance improvements, to go back to once a day with the omega and the lutein and zeaxanthin. So that was revealing. Lutein and zeaxanthin are water soluble. So if there's more than the body needs, it flushes out. So that prevents any toxicity and protection. So glare recovery, light to dark, contrast sensitivity, the color, photophobia, light sensitivity, and light shock. So the triggers, when they're light, sunlight through trees, strobes, ceiling fans, is shocking the retina and the rods and the cones with an overdose of light that they're able to manage. What our attempt is to prevent that from happening. So intercept it before it creates that sudden impact and sudden shock to the eye. So this is Anna again. And Anna, I believe, is 6 years old and just a sweetheart. They live in Kansas. And she's been wearing the lens for 4 years now and continuing to have benefit. Her prescription changed, so we were able to include the prescription in the contacts. Prescription can be included. The lenses also may have no prescription and either wear glasses over, or if there's no prescription, that gives us a full benefit. We're attempting to make them more cosmetic, where we're just matching the dark adapted pupil size. But it's startling sometimes when we eliminate the cause, the effect is fairly quick. And I always, when our patients are here, our kids are here in St. Louis, once we have our contacts in, we go out to the parking lot and see, and usually the hand wave is greatly reduced or disappears. And so that's the way I'm able to demonstrate to me that we're effective, and I'm always trying to prove the benefit of the lens. So the therapy of the contact is inserting the lens in the morning and removing at bedtime. And that has been the most beneficial because that's minimizing the triggers, allowing our brain, and Dr. Teal, feel free to correct my observations from my perspective, but it is lowering the overstimulation during the day. And what I'm thinking myself, from my perspective, that this is calming the triggers and producing great benefit. So the continued day after day after day, just like wearing a soft contact lens, these are regular soft contact lenses, but they're non-disposable. The life has been 6 months to a year. I always recommend having a spare. The production time is between 30 to 45 days, and it's increasing a little bit just because of the demand. We have one outstanding technician who loves our kids and who is very fussy, but each lens is made one at a time at the moment, which may change in the future with expansion of production. So just reviewing proper contact lens care for folks in the audience that our kids are wearing. The Lens Fresh cleaner is unique. It's the only one that we recommend using with the lenses once a day, and the lens is placed in the palm of the hand. A few drops of the Lens Fresh, rub with the pad of your finger, 10 to 15 seconds, and then put into BioTrue saline. So the Bausch & BioTrue saline is the recommended saline to store. We want to avoid Clear Care, which is a hydrogen peroxide product. Very good for standard contact lenses, but it will bleach the color from the lens. And it hasn't, this care protocol has been stunning, and the lenses have been durable during this process as well. So let me back up. And so the recommendation is make sure there's that's section on good hand washing before you handle, and trim fingernails. So it's really important because that will be an accidental cause, especially if our kids are younger and they're learning how to put them in and take them out. We'll over pinch or use our fingernail to help remove the lens. We need to avoid that. So no fingernails. And that will extend the life of the lens. And I recommend that we add a drop of saline over the contact lens before removing. The dry time is bedtime. Pardon me. So our contact lenses our eyes are bone dry at bedtime. Adding a drop of moisture hydrates the lens. Contacts are little sponges, so they soak up all the extra moisture, and that'll allow the lens to come off more cleanly. So a drop of saline, drop of hydrating drops. Use a hydrating drop during the day as needed. After time, the kids probably won't need to put a drop in until bedtime, but always have that handy. Seasonally, we're drier in the fall, dry weather, heat's on, and if we're taking an antihistamine or a decongestant, that dries our eyes up. So it's just a good thing. First thing in the morning, last thing at bedtime, as needed during the day. That's good for parents as well. Screens reduce our blink rate. So when we're looking at a screen or not looking at a screen, our blink rate is 16 times a minute. That releases moisture. When we're looking at a digital screen, our blink rate goes down to 4. So we just go down by a lot. And dry eye is epidemic right now just because of our digital screens. And our kids in school, I'm not sure they're off a screen from waking to sleeping. So the night shift on an Apple phone set that to go on in the evening, get off of our screens. The kids should be off their screens an hour before bedtime. If we're on our screens too late, insomnia is a concern because the brain is not producing melatonin. So our brain says we want to stay awake if we go. So anyway, that's just kind of a general overview. And hopefully we'll be able to take some questions here at the end. My office telephone is 314-961-7511. My email, which Dr. Teal and staff have, is scantrellod@gmail.com. Thank you so much. It's been a privilege. We're all family, and I feel that way. But boy, I learned from families, and it's just such a treat to see these great kids. And I'm sorry I'm going long, but I'm sure Dr. Teal has noticed this too. But when I meet with the families and meet kids, the kids are very bright. I'm not sure what that's about, but they're extremely smart and bright. Pick this up, and that has been just my observation. So our pediatrician for my grandbaby says she's P&A, and I think this applies to our kids too. Perfect and advanced. We'll stop on that note. Thank you.
So we're running just a little bit over, but since Steve couldn't be here and we thought there might be questions, we're just going to open it up with him on Zoom. Hopefully this will work if anyone has any questions for him. And while we're waiting to get Steve on, I'm going to order mine tonight, my Lutein zeaxanthin. And what we were thinking yesterday during the visits, and I haven't had time to talk to Steve about this yet, but I would love to do it. So if any of you guys are interested in it, is the addition of that enough on its own without the context to lower and reduce hand waving? Since it's wicked benign, what we're probably going to do is design a trial like we did with fenfluramine, like we're planning on doing with the contact lens if they're effective, of just kind of seeing a baseline and then using those supplements if it in of itself helps. So if any of you guys would be interested in helping us with that, let any of us know. And we'll hopefully get that going soon. I think I'm going to get the gummies. The only gummies I use. So we have some questions. Go ahead.
With the contact lenses, are they does it make everything dark when they're inside? Does it, I know we want to dampen the light, but does it make it so dark that, writing notes in class, there's going to be hard because it's like being inside with sunglasses on, that kind of thing?
So the answer to that is based on symptoms, we can adjust the filter tint. And everything is blue for the kids or adults in the beginning. The colors return, but they're very functional, indoors, outdoors, classroom. That's what the intent is.
Other questions?
With regard to the lenses, are they individualized for each patient, or are they just a standard colored blue?
No, it's individualized. There's a filter zone that's comprised of many different levels. So we're based on symptoms. What I usually prefer is having a Zoom first. We can discuss that, talk to family, kids, and they are individualized.
Other questions?
And my question would be, if we've tried sort of blue glasses with a cobalt blue, the type of lens that is recommended, and those don't necessarily work, do we think that there's a chance that the lenses would work if they were moved to contacts?
That's a great question. So the Zeiss lens was the original go-to back when. And it's interesting that this all popped up with Xbox in the dark. So when kids were playing Xbox in the dark, strobes, things, seizures began happening. So the Zeiss lens that was in Europe only, we weren't able to get it here in the US. That was a foundation. And then with trial and error and with a spectrometer mixing different pigments to filter certain wavelengths of light out, they're a little more targeted. And so it's called a notch filter, and not all light penetrates or gets through. And it turns out a lot of those wavelengths are what trigger seizures. So there's a little more technology that's gone into the contact lens.
And Lucas.
Not sure if this is like the right setting for the question, but I was wondering a little bit more about you said overdosing of the light to the eye is something that helps trigger this. And I was just kind of wondering if you could explain that a little more. Does it, I don't know, like where in that pathway does specific problems arise or something like that?
That is a great question. And I think so much more needs to be known. There's more research needing to be done. But my theory on this, and observing just from an eye care standpoint for many years, the macula is the main reception in the back of the eye. 2 millimeters in size, so very small. That's where the rods and cones are. Now, the nutrition that I mentioned in the presentation, lutein and zeaxanthin are antioxidants in the carotenoid family, very colorful. Lutein is the yellow in corn, so it's a pigment. Zeaxanthin is the yellow in bell peppers and different colors like that. Our body doesn't manufacture it, and we must consume it. So it's either in our diet of the vegetables that were in the slide, or a nutritional supplement. The nutritional supplement is actually raising the blood serum levels in a very positive way to a level that the nutrients are bioavailable to the macula, where light enters, follows the optic nerve back to the occipital lobe in the base of the brain. So there still is so much that needs to be known. We can overdose on lutein and zeaxanthin, and it was initially discovered for age-related macular degeneration. And what happens with age-related macular degeneration, we think, is malabsorption. We're eating the same diet, but as we get older, the nutrients aren't absorbed. And so the macula is exposed. So it's like not having the natural sunglass in the eye. And the nutritional supplement raises the macular pigment optical density. There will be a 10-point quiz on this later. But the macular pigment optical density is a measure of the amount of filter on the macula. So that needs to be a daily dose for children. And again, there's still much that needs to be known, but based on what the results have been, that's a piece of the puzzle that's helping calm the overstimulation and the overactivity in the brain. Does that make sense?
So Steve, if it's okay with you, in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead. But people can get in touch with you if they have additional questions. Is that okay?
Oh, that's absolutely perfect.
And I'll be in touch
Wonderful.
soon about this new study we're going to do, okay?
Oh, that's fantastic. Look forward to that.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks so
It was fantastic having you here.
Recording stopped.
We've had an incredible time working with him over the past several years. And it's kind of cool to think of how can we treat seizures other than using anti-seizure medications.